Happy Friday and welcome to the Ford Miami Show. I am your co-host, Jonathan Casanas. I hope you have a cocktail in your hand, if not a mocktail if you don't drink. Today is a good Friday. There's going to be a lot of scandal going on, so hopefully you're having fun. The man to my left, finally get to introduce him because usually he's hosting it by himself. But the man to my left happens to be our co-host. He is a gay activist, a human rights activist, a political activist, and he's also known as the mayor of all gays here in Miami. He's raised thousands and thousands of dollars for AIDS research, among other LGBTQ issues that we have raised here in South Florida. And he has founded a lot of organizations that are still thriving today, like SAFE, who is huge and instrumental in helping pass the human rights ordinance here in Miami. He is also the founder of Ford Miami, who has the Gay Ocho Festival, the largest Latino Hispanic festival here in the nation, and the Ford America's Human Rights Symposium. He's also happens to be my boss, Damian Pardo.
Wow.
Woo! I tried to get all that out.
Tremendo introduction.
That's a big intro.
Right?
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Thank you, man.
That was off the cuff, too.
That was excellent. I want to tell people a little bit about Ford Miami, just so you know. Ford Miami tries to bring different voices and different people in different parts of the community together, kind of by sharing our stories, sharing our perspectives, and being able to share the space and learn from one another. So we like to say that Miami is this big salad and all that stuff, but actually Ford Miami is the salad bowl. So that's kind of like how we think of the organization.
Yeah.
And Caballo, thank you very much for joining us today, because
Appreciate it.
I think you're one of those voices that represents a lot of people that are unheard. But when you speak up, they kind of think, hey, man, wow, yeah, I think that too.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, so absolutely. So let's introduce Caballo. So Caballo is actually, he is really an Instagram sensation as of right now. He's popping off. He is a stand-up comedian here in Miami. He has a podcast now called From the Horse's Mouth.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Straight from the horse's mouth. And he's created quite a stink here in Miami as of recently with one, Billy Corbin, and with two, the Latinx community. And so the reason why we brought him on was exactly that. So it's going to be a good conversation. So welcome, El Caballo.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Listed on the title, but I hope it's El Caballo, because you go by El Caballo. Is it okay if we call you Caballo?
Of course. You can call me whatever you want.
So tell us where do you what's your passion about? Where'd you come from? Were you raised here in Miami?
Born and raised right here in Miami. I went to middle school in Shenandoah.
Shenandoah.
I was supposed to go.
Teacher in Shenandoah.
Oh wow.
Was or is?
Was.
Yeah. Great school, man. I mean, that's where I became a man. I was supposed to go to Miami High, and I ended up transferring to Coral Park. I think you went to Coral Park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up transferring to Coral Park through the engineering program because los Nicaraguenses weren't letting me live. I had a target on my back, bro.
You continue to have a target on your back.
I was the white boy to them. Yeah. I was the little white boy with the light eyes. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro.
Wait, what kind of target did they have on your back, bro?
I mean, again, it was. They looked at me like I was a white boy.
Oh, okay.
They literally looked at me like I was a white boy, and I was like, open season on me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because that school, when my parents went there, it was all Cuban. It was, all the Los Marielito, and just little ones that came in those times.
Yeah.
But when I went there, it was Little Managua. Like, it was all Nicaraguans, and I love Nicaraguans. Like, shout out to the Onigoya. But when I was a kid, man, I had it rough with them.
I remember that. I remember one of my best friends was Nicaraguan, actually, but it was like rare. It was rare that it was existed. So how'd you get into comedy?
Well, I started through Pepe Villete. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pepe Villete.
Of course, yeah.
He's the man. Shout out to Pepe Villete. But man, I kind of hawked him on Twitter when Twitter was a thing down here, because he was like all world. He was like top, the first influencer. Him and the Peachy Boys were the first influencers out there.
Yeah.
So, I would, like, I remember I was selling insurance at that time, bro, and I was producing nothing because it was just tweeting Pepe. Finally, he kind of, I tweeted relatively funny things, and he reached out. We collabed, and it was all history, man. It's history from there because I became his little sidekick, and then it ended up, I started branching out by myself, and then that became its own thing, and then I got into stand-up comedy.
So you fell into stand-up, basically.
It was just, man, it's like leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
And I would go see these I was following the circuit. Shout out to Cisco Duran. I was following him around, and then the rest of the Miami circuit, which at that time was almost non-existent. Now, that was a good 3-4 years ago. Now there's some good talent down here now. But yeah, I mean, after like 2 years, finally, placing my sack. Well put, I said.
He said well put.
Well put.
Well put. Wait, so how did you? So you obviously have a thing for politics. You're passionate about politics as well. Do you include this in your stand-up, and you include this a lot in your social media? So
Yeah.
are you very political? Or you just use this to be funny?
I wasn't political. Listen, I lost my passion for politics.
Yeah.
Throughout the 8 years that Obama was president.
Okay.
And I was kind of like I kind of, became wise to the fact that it's just, they're making you play this tug of war every 4 years over a few issues every 4 years. And, once I realized that, I was like, man, politics ain't, it's a game. But when Trump came out, and I know it's not a popular person down here, but
it kind of is actually.
Well, yeah, infamous.
Yeah.
But when he came out, it was really the end of. It was already they were the epitome of political correctness.
Yeah.
I think in the prior administration.
Well, you're definitely not politically correct. And
Absolutely,
and that's what works for you, though.
Yeah,
And I have a question. What made you feel that it was politically correct? The political correctness that you referred to.
We were getting to a point where you really couldn't say much, and I mean we're still playing with that, but you got to a point that you really couldn't say much without someone getting offended and making a stink of it. I mean, and I mean, I just went through it recently with this whole Corbin thing where. Now they try to cancel you. Now if they're offended, they try to go after your money. And it's a very slippery slope.
So what happened there? So you're in a battle with Billy Corbin. Billy Corbin is I
wouldn't say a battle.
Well,
the war is over.
It's a little bit of
unless he wants something else, Billy.
An online scuffle. Which you have funny hashtags and names for them that I won't repeat here, but they are catchy, for lack of a better term. So, but what happened there? So he's a documentarian, a film creator. He's done he's done 30 for
Cocaine
30,
Cowboys.
Cocaine Cowboys. So how did you guys line up? I mean, this is a famous individual, and
so Billy obviously doesn't agree with my politics. He's a hard leftist, and I never had any interaction with Billy prior to this, but a writer in DC, a Herald writer based out of DC, had picked up some information and he wrote an article on me and two other people about the fact that we got PPP loans issued to us.
Okay.
After having been arrested for driving with a suspended driver's license.
What does that have to do with the other?
Which, by the way, the charge just got dropped. What?
What is that? So what is?
So okay,
DUI have to do with PPP?
I'll get there. So that article, was only online, so it really never got circulated.
Right.
The day that they rioted, that they broke into the Capitol, that the protest that started as a protest and ended up as a riot. I went on my Instagram and I basically said, listen, man, I very much more agree with showing up to the front step of the Capitol to take up,
An issue.
a disagreement that you have with the government, as opposed to burning down your own community.
Yeah.
So, he kind of flipped it into that I was praising the rioting. I never in my life would want any kind of violence. I don't think that they even had to bring it. I just think that the fact that the mob was there at their front step was amazing.
Yeah.
As opposed to, burning down your own community, which is where the protesting led to, not always, but a lot throughout, the course of the year. So Billy takes that opportunity. He was beside himself. Every tweet that he tweeted out, he always mentioned praising the Capitol rioters.
Yeah.
He took that opportunity to recirculate that article.
Okay.
To make sure that it got some traction, because I guess since it was an online article and nobody reads the Herald, it got no traction. So Billy made sure that it got traction, and him and his lawyer. First, it was his lawyer that tweeted it. The lawyer runs like the Plantain or something. And then, when I got light of the fact that Billy was involved, then it was like, all right, okay, you really want to...
Yeah, you guys went at each other.
You guys, you're going to come after like a normal person, a civilian? Because the majority of his beef is with politicians.
Yeah.
And he should have kept it there. But
Sure. But you guys ended up, you end up battling for nothing, because your stance really is that you didn't want violence.
Yeah, he took the opportunity to smear me.
Yeah.
And by the way, tried canceling me because they were tagging all the people that sponsor me, all my clients, everybody I do business with, in an attempt to make it seem like, this guy's not worth doing business with.
Right.
And again, it's just a complete cancel culture element.
Yeah.
That's where we've gotten.
Okay. All right. So it's nothing. It's a nothing burger at the end of the day.
There's nothing. I mean, unless he wants to continue just trying to smear me, making it seem like he picked the wrong comedian, bro. I can say whatever I want.
You created a video. The reason why we brought you here, and the reason why Damian thought that it would be great to have this conversation, is because what we do is we try to bring both sides of a topic, and we try to meet in the middle in some way. He had a couple weeks ago, he brought on a very, very Republican individual by the name of Manny Diaz, Garcia, who I used to despise, and this was the era where me and you would battle it out on Facebook. But what was great about that conversation was they got to listen to each other and understand each other's sides, and they realized they had more in common than they did divide. So it's pretty interesting that you talk about Latinx and that term, because this is a term that came about to describe non-binary individuals in the Latin community. But what's happening is that this term is now being broadly just used to describe Latin America and U.S. Latin Americans in its entirety. So what came about? Why did you create this video? And where do you stand on it?
Well, the Latinx thing now, it's been around for a good, I want to say 4 years now.
Yeah, like 2016,
4 or 5
17.
years, right? I mean, dude, the second I heard it, I was like, what? Like, what now? You get what I'm saying? What now? And it really was like, it was almost, again, back to like the end of the Obama administration. I already felt like they could say, all right, they could basically just do whatever they want in terms of this is how you have to think. In other words, I felt like they're more after changing how you think,
Yeah.
as opposed to finding comfort within society.
And have you ever thought that they may just want to, have an approach to make everyone feel comfortable, and it's okay to just be recognized as something you want to feel recognized as?
But and I explained that in the video. The the Spanish language is inclusive of everyone, every gender, whatever you are, whatever you consider yourself. The Spanish language.
You mean because when you use like a word like hermanos, it means both genders, or there's a lot of words that serve both.
Exactly. It's not. Again, it's a Romance language. The adjectives. The nouns are not binding.
Right. There's also something I was surprised with the term Latinx, and that's that a lot of people here say, well, we don't understand like why these people think that we're communist or that this is communistic. A lot of people don't understand that Latinx or that non-binary or neutralizing gender is something that communists have always put forward. 1920s, 30s in Russia, whether it was the Castro regime, whether it was Nicaragua or Venezuela, or it's always about neutralizing any differences, especially those based on genders. So while it's important to create space for that, if we understand each other and we know how we're seeing it differently, we're seeing the same thing in different ways. So it's really important to say, oh, okay, I get it. Now I know why you have an issue with being called Latinx. But I feel like a lot of these terms are determined at a national level. There must be like a committee of people.
Yeah, who creates this stuff? Who just runs with it?
This is the thing. This is the other thing, and that's what bothered me the most is that it's not Hispanic politicians putting this forward.
Right.
It's Anglo politicians. From they have. The closest they've gotten to, the Hispanic culture is huevos rancheros. you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't get it.
Then you have the New York Times adopt it, then NPR, then all of a sudden.
What's interesting is that by creating this term, they're excluding so many other people.
Right.
And so now they've just created another little subsidy of a subsidy. So you're not doing any favors.
And listen, I don't, and this accounts for the LGBT community that I've come in contact with. No, the majority of the people are not in favor of it.
Yeah,
I don't. You go because one of the first people I ever saw. It's what triggered me to write something. Or because by the way, I did look into it. I wanted to understand
good for you.
What it was, but then obviously it became obvious that it was just a little ridiculous, and. The first place I saw it was Me Too. You heard of Me Too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not how you say it. Me Too?
No, he means I make to you,
or Me
right?
Too.
Me Too.
No, I don't know what that is.
Me Too.
No, not the Me Too movement.
No,
it's a website.
It's
MITU.
I know about the
MITU.
Me Too movement. I don't know about Me Too.
No, he's talking Me Too.
Me Too. Damn. You thought I said a rough dollar like that?
I really did.
Yeah, man, I saw it there. Listen, they got torched. You go to that. I wouldn't doubt they hit it, but if you go to their Facebook and you look through for their Latinx video,
yeah,
it's just torched, and it's all Hispanics, and it's trans, and it's gay people. Everybody, they just torch it across the board.
Really? Why? How? What do you mean?
Again, man,
in terms of like the Latinx
so
stuff?
it's identity politics.
Yeah,
you get me. It's identity politics, and it's just that I feel like that identity politics is more of an Anglo black thing. They have managed to and again it's because there's. Hispanics have so many different cultures here. There's so many different types of Hispanics. To really try to consolidate everybody into one is almost an insult within itself. As opposed to where
embracing all of
the identity politics between white and black is just white and black in America. Here in Miami, you Nicas, Colombians, Venezuelans, Uruguayans,
you make a great point.
Peruvians.
Diversity in Miami is very different than in the rest of it's not DC, it's not New York, it's not Texas or Dallas or and some people say Miami is not a diverse city because they lump all the Hispanics into one category. But if you actually break it out, we're one, if not the most, one of the most, absolutely, and a different kind of diversity because it's language, it's it's everything.
There's no way. I mean, possibly New York because they're more of an international diversity, but in terms of Hispanics or the Latin community, there can't be any other city that we're like a hub.
Yeah, we are.
We're right there for everybody, at least land. And then you can go wherever you want, but I can't think of another city. And I've been in every other major city, and I've been to the majority of them. It's Puerto Ricans and Mexicans.
Right.
That make up the obviously there's thousands of
No, and then if you're there, they call you a Mexican, and you're
Oh,
not Mexican.
please. North of Orlando,
Yeah,
I'm already
you're a
Mexican or Italian.
You're a Mexican. Let me ask you a question. Like, what do you see in Miami that you would love to change? Like, if you had a magic wand and you would change that in an instant, what would it be?
The fraud. The Medicare fraud. and the car insurance fraud.
The car insurance fraud?
Oh, my God. What do you think? What do you think our premiums are what they are?
You want a new car? Or
You
crash
think every
it?
time you see one of those boats in the water at the dock
Oh,
on
yeah.
Only in Dade, you think
No,
that's just a bad driver?
The whole truck goes in the water. You're
It's
like,
un
"How'd you do that?"
trabajo. That's an insurance job, brother. I'm telling you. No, but listen, if traffic, public transportation is probably one thing that I changed right away.
traffic,
man.
absolutely.
The reason the traffic is so bad is because public transportation is non-existent, man. I don't understand how we're so. This was to like 2-3 years ago. They said they already admitted that once they get all the highway projects done that are currently, if they got done tomorrow with everything, we're already another 20 years behind.
Wow.
Because of the rate at which the state is growing in the city. The city.
And let me ask you something. If you had an idea of how to bring this community together better, what would you think of? What would you suggest?
Man, I'm trying through comedy. I think arts is always the answer for that.
Yeah.
You know, music.
I
Comedy,
think
is
like some of what we were just saying, like words like Latinx or BIPOC, when I've heard BIPOC, which is Black Indigenous People of Color, I'm like, okay, well, where am I in that?
Technically, you're a person of color, even though you look white.
Right, but then I'm white passing.
But like,
but
do you?
But wait, but wait a minute. If I say I'm a person of color, then people will tell me, "But you're not. You're taking my space." And I'm like, "Whoa, then what am I? Like,
Right.
where do I?"
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you fall in? And I think some of that, the reason that Miami gets hit so hard with all of this, is that you have two parties with national platforms. BIPOC might mean something in Washington or New York, but here is where the rubber meets the road on these words and these terms, and we're not at that. So you have two parties pulling each way with their base, right? You hear them all the time. We need to rally the base. We need to rally the base. That's basically feed them propaganda so that they do what they need
Bottom
to do,
line.
right?
Bottom
and
line.
then we all get caught in the middle in this place that we love, we share, we want to see it grow, we want to see good things happen. And here we are, trying to
Yeah,
figure
because
out.
let's be real. Like, your Instagram is pretty specific to the right,
I'm Republican. As
Yeah.
far as you can tell, I'm Republican.
as far as you can tell. As far as the eye can see, bro.
the reality is that I'm a libertarian, but that party's non-existent.
Which is a problem. We only have two parties.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, listen, I promise you that I think one of the stupidest things in the world is, again, because like I mentioned earlier, I realized every 4 years, same issues. Every
Yeah.
4 years, abortion. To
The
me,
thing about abortion, before you go, the abortion can lead to so many other things, including gay rights, and abortion is always tricky because, like, my parents don't understand what that means to us, and abortion is just one way of telling the rest of the world that you can't control your body, you can't do what you want.
I'm with you. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think it's ridiculous, especially that Republicans are always touting that they don't want the government in their lives.
But they'll tell you what to do.
But you can't
Yeah.
get an abortion, but the
Yeah.
government can tell you not to get an abortion.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, listen, if you think it's crime, then just don't commit it. Don't commit it, bro.
Yeah.
But it's not your body. I'm telling you, I think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous issue to come again, and I understand that people come from a very conservative, and it's biblical and it's religious, but if you're not doing it, if it's not you, I don't understand how this can be a fucking issue.
Right.
Sorry,
Right.
but
No, we have the same thing, on our side, really. And that's what we try to do shows like this for, because when it comes down to it, we're all living the same life, bro. We're not doing the same things, but we're
And you know
living with
what?
the same issues.
After all this national stuff happens, where at the end of the day you have people who don't even want to, families that don't talk to each other,
Yes.
people that,
Yes,
relationships that break up over this stuff, Then we're stuck having to deal with reality. What's reality? COVID. What's reality? Climate. And how do we work together now? Like, how do we bring, like, you see?
There's a huge divide. That's without a doubt. I don't talk to half my family. My cousins from Pardo, Lewis, Tobares, George Tobares.
Yeah.
We don't talk at all no more.
And we were like, let them know why.
We're like brothers.
That's horrible.
We're like, hey Lou, what up, Lou? Shout out to Lou.
That's horrible.
But bro, listen.
How do we fix that?
I wasn't the one that took it that serious.
Got you. But how do you fix that? How do you fix that?
I think you don't talk about it. Listen, if you're that passionate,
that's one way.
if you're that passionate about politics, where you cannot bear being there and hearing people that disagree with you, then don't talk about it, man. Because that's something that's personal. It's growth.
I will say, because we've had this experience before. I mean, I don't know if you know, he is the one that kind of backed me up in that moment where I was called a pedophile.
I remember.
I was called a pedophile on Facebook just because I was gay, and I was saying, you can take your kids to a pride festival. It's not that bad. You're not going to see horrible stuff. And they ended up saying, you all are pedophiles. Like, I would never take my kid. And me and him almost went at it. But what's interesting about Caballo is you can argue, you can speak your speech, and at the end of the day, we remain friends, right? Like you're still a human being.
Caballo, maybe that's also something that's cultural, maybe easier, I don't know, for Cubans, because I remember with my friends, I mean, they would say a crazy thing, and I'd be like, "You're crazy, get out of here," and that's it. That's where it stayed.
Listen,
right.
As long as I don't fear that you're gonna do something, fatal, something that's really gonna impede my way of life or get me in some legal trouble, I don't care, man. I could disagree with you and continue on with the rest of my day, and we could have fun and laugh 5 seconds later. I don't care about that.
What about if someone calls you a communist?
I mean, I've been called everything by now.
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm a traitor and
right.
An insurrectionist. What's the other one that
because I bring that up to be funny, but it's also it's a true thing. There's a huge divide in Miami, and you could be a communist, or what's the other term that they use? Because it's anti-Cuban.
So liberals are pegged as communists and socialists.
Yeah.
And that's because
why is it, Caballo? Why is it that I'm being called a communist?
I think the communist thing comes more down here because we're Hispanics and we're given where we came from, Cuba, Venezuela. Venezuelans, what they're going through now.
Yeah,
they're really seeing we're the ones that have the freshest cut.
Yeah,
with communism.
What about you, Damian? What do you think?
I mean, I think that when it comes to communism, there's a lot of things. You hit it, actually, Caballo. You hit the nail on the head when you said we got it, because these people lived it. They actually lived communism.
No.
So anybody that says anything here, they're like, oh, you just don't know.
Communism.
Communism. You don't know because you haven't lived it, but it's coming. Right? They're convinced it's coming.
Yeah.
And what they mean is that in their home countries, a lot of these movements, like movements for equality, which we participate in different ways. We all participate in movements for equality, but that's how they were sold communism.
Yeah.
In their home countries, they were told, "Oh, we're gonna make gender equal. We're gonna make everybody equal. LGBT equal." Look at Cuba. LGBT folks in Cuba were the biggest fighters against Castro and the Castro regime, and still are. I mean, going way back, I remember I used to be impressed that I would see Cuban generals alongside the most flamboyant, effeminate gay person in the world, kissing them, hugging them, because they shared this anti-communistic, and they had gone through a trauma. Everybody has trauma. We need to understand each other's traumas.
Absolutely, man.
One isn't better than another. One is not more traumatic because it's traumatic to you.
Exactly.
Right? So we're horrible at understanding that.
Yep.
Stuff comes up here all the time that happened years ago, and it's still old, traumas.
Without a doubt, man. And I think that we generalize a lot. Again, just a blanket statement of saying you're a communist.
Yeah.
because you support somebody, it's
Yeah.
a little absurd.
Or
It's a
you're a
little-
racist because you support
So
somebody.
that's it's absurd, bro. But I think again, to answer your question, I think liberals generally take a little more. They lean a little more towards socialist, policies, and that's where the whole socialist and communist thing
Well,
comes
but
from.
this is
They
the
all
irony.
think
Wait, I have to say
socialists-
this
Yeah, I
because
was
this
gonna-
is the irony. Even though liberals support the more socialist kind of things, bro, all the kids are eating their meal program through a socialist program.
We're
All the
already-
Los Viejitos in Section 8 are a socialist program. Like,
plenty
In
of
middle America receiving benefits when
plenty of sectors in our everyday life are already socialism.
yeah.
yeah,
Without a
yeah.
doubt.
And they're good things. We need it because there's a lot of working poor. There's a lot of people still trying to survive, especially in
I
Dade
agree,
County.
man. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I have an issue with racism here in Miami, right? It's still alive and well. Do you believe that racism is still popping here in Miami?
Racism exists within every culture and will never stop existing.
You think?
Never, ever. Racism is just it's an inherent thing. It's born in the person, and it's just it's also I think that racism is very intertwined with prejudice, being prejudiced.
Yeah.
Prejudging something, and I think that's just it's part of human nature. But yeah, it's very
Human
alive
nature
and well.
because of how we perceive things. We just tend to generalize,
Yeah.
like we were saying. So, all those people. Like, it struck me before that I'll have a conversation with a friend and he'll say, yeah, I have an issue because 10 years ago, 2 Cuban guys did it. And I
Yeah,
look at him
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, but are you, hey,
Ridiculous.
hey, bro, if I tell you I have an issue with you because 2 black guys did something to me 10 years ago, why are you
Ridiculous,
lumping
man.
me?
Yeah.
It's
You know,
ridiculous.
so maybe
Yeah.
there is some human nature element.
It's tribalism, man.
Tribalism,
Tribalism. You're always gonna have tribalism, and when you start dividing, then you have to start coming up with reasoning for the division, and it's never gonna stop.
So you're gonna do more videos and create more scandals?
That 24/7.
What
As
role-
sure as the sun is gonna rise.
what role would you want to play in a place that helps make things better like that from those differences?
And do
Comedy,
you want
man.
to?
Comedy, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
man. And listen,
Comedy.
I think that you come to my comedy shows, and even though I do touch on both sides, I give it a fair kick, bro. And I don't want
What do you mean by
anybody to
touch
think.
both sides, bro.
Like I'll try. I'll point out the ignorance on the right.
Both sides. Got it.
I'll point out the ignorance because
Well, like
again,
you just did.
just like you said, I part of one of my sets recently, one of my bits, I started off like, I walked into the holidays and it's always the same thing. The Republicans are in the TV room watching football where you can hear the occasional racial slur
Yeah.
or comment. But the liberals are in the kitchen. And my woke aunt is there. She always trying to prove how woke she is. And, I think it's time we have a conversation about taking down Jose Marti statues.
Christopher Columbus.
But yeah, I try to point out both sides, bro, because there definitely is 2 sides to the coin, and I think that you should be able to laugh at it. And another thing a lot of people don't understand is that comedy always comes. Every time you laugh, it comes at the expense of something. And people don't understand that.
Good point.
It's a yin and a yang. Same concept. You can't. And there are a few instances. It took me a long time. Trust me, you won't. If you could come up with any laugh, any funny thing that you can think of, that's not at the expense of someone or something, I'll give you $5.
Yeah. Well, damn, $5.
$5.
I mean, it's funny because comedy, like, I'm the worst because the comedy I like the most happens to be like the riskiest, raunchiest.
Likewise.
Like I only laugh at the really bad stuff, bro. like I don't know how to explain. Like the really.
Listen, I'm with you, bro, and it's kind of like what we were talking about with that show that we're trying to kick off. Like EMTs, man. EMTs, paramedics, cops, these guys, and it's the same for us comedians because we play out all the PG stuff.
Yeah.
you're desensitized to a certain extent. Me in the sense of comedy, EMTs and service workers more in the sense of to real life. Yeah. They're desensitized to corpses and people having strokes and being cut open. So those people, to decompress, the things that they have to say to each other and the things that they have to think about to decompress from that, and I'm the kind of person that's here to serve that market of comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, I think that even if you're not that desensitized, you should be able to see it from the PG perspective. Being a PG person,
Yeah.
Being able to see, there is this side to the world. So it's, I don't know. It's taking yourself too serious. I think is also a very big problem down here.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think in our community especially, we take a lot of things really serious when a lot of us are really pretty casual. I mean, there is, and actually that's a good segue, because I wanted to talk to you about the word queer, man, because I know that as a heterosexual male, and then us sitting on the other side who really don't align ourselves with queer, but when I was growing up, like when you were growing up, especially, like you called someone a queer and you were fighting, and they want to align themselves with this word. What's the word? How do you say it when you try to make a word and you take it on?
Appropriate.
They try. Same.
Yeah,
they try to reclaim the word, and that's a thing lately.
Yeah. But I mean, when we were growing up, like if you got called a queer, what would you do, man?
No, it was a fight.
It was a fight.
It was a fight.
And so
I would never think of calling a gay person a queer.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I thought it was an insult. I always felt like it was an insult.
Like if I align with queer and I tell you call me queer, wouldn't you feel a little weird about it?
I always felt like it's derogatory.
Right. I mean, it's like what do we talk about with black people using the N word, reclaiming that? But it still
they're reclaiming
harsh.
the N word, and that's a word I will never use.
Right.
I will never use the N word.
Right.
I just won't.
Okay.
But I understand it, right? Because there's this group of people that they're non-binary. They don't associate with any orientation particularly, and they like the openness of it all. Plus, it has a little political bent, so queer works for them. All power, if that's what works for you, it becomes problematic when we decide to use it as the word.
Right? To generalize everybody.
Yeah,
Again,
the queer community. Well, I'm not gonna go. I'm not
go
part
by
of
that.
queer history.
Yeah,
I don't see myself.
It's and again, I think it's why Trump was elected.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
again,
That's a huge point,
the identity politics within the party was eroding. You're forcing people to view things like you view them.
Right.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And that's where the communism also
From the top, right? It's from like the top looking down.
Yeah.
Like here, we've picked a word for you people.
here, and that's where the communist accusations come from. You get what I'm saying?
And that's
You're
what
like,
communists exactly.
You're gonna make me say what you want me to say.
Right.
No, I can't do this. And then no, communist. Like
Right.
that. You get what I'm saying? It's just that simple. It's that simple to go from I just want to be included.
But I don't think, because I don't feel. Do you have like in your community, in your world, in your masculine ways? Do you guys have a word that you're like, I don't want to be grouped in that word? Like we're the only ones who have that. I just realized.
Beta.
Oh,
Beta, true, right?
Who calls you beta?
No one calls me beta.
Why? Because you're an alpha.
The funny thing is too that it's very obvious that it's kind of organic, all of this to you, but to some people outside looking in, it's like toxic masculinity.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're a bully.
100%.
You're the
Yeah.
image of a bully. Your actions are a bully. The way you comport.
Mannerisms.
Exactly. How do you deal with that? What do you think about that?
I don't stress them, man.
I was gonna say he doesn't
Those
care.
people, those people, they talk from afar. Those
Yeah.
are never the people that confront you. Those are the people that bask in the social media world because they're able to get their feelings across via a screen and a keyboard. And again, like I'm also not the type of person, I don't delete comments.
No,
I don't. I'll let you spew off. If anything, it's an insight. It's an impression for me.
Well, what kind of
statistic.
alpha are you? Are you like, woman, go make me a sandwich kind of alpha?
No, man,
Or
no,
are you like,
no.
I run things alpha?
So, and I know that that's another conversation that can be so, it's a toxic, topic.
Yeah.
Because alpha just comes across like that. But the beta and the alpha that I'm referring to, or I feel like our culture is referring to now, is like an indecisive person that doesn't have the ambition or the willpower to go and get it himself. You're waiting for somebody who's sheltered, a mama's boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's more of like what I think our culture now considers like a beta.
Yo, I swear I heard Obama's boy.
No.
I was like, bro, who you talking to? No, it's Mama's boy. Mama's boy.
Yeah. Like a little mama's boy. And
So what's next for you?
'cause
What do you got going on before we run out
But
of
by
time?
the way,
I don't
before
know.
we leave that topic, it's not about women though. It's not like you're a misogynist and
nothing
you're
to do.
looking to make women less
Absolutely
than.
not. I respect my mom. You have no idea how much respect I have for women. My mom is what I think a real feminist is. She, which is another big issue I have with like Hillary, for example. She's the face of feminism. But I know there's no way that these real feminists would ever allow or ever stay in a relationship with a man that did what she did. And my mom was the exact opposite. My father did her wrong, and she said, whatever, I'm gonna have to go do what I do, but I'm not gonna stick with him just for the sake of financial support.
Yeah.
And she went out and she did it on her own. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's what true feminism is.
Right.
So
And
I would never disrespect women in that way. I have the utmost respect for women
And in relationship, how would you express that?
in a
In your
relationship.
yeah,
Yo soy enamorado.
Oh, that's cool.
Un romántico. I love being in love with a woman, and I love expressing myself. And again, I know how I come across,
Right.
but
So you're a
I'm
beta.
affectionate.
So you're a
I'm
beta.
a
You're a
me
beta.
gusta
You're a beta.
cariñoso. Yeah, I'm a beta. Total Metro.
Got it. Teddy bear. Got it, teddy bear. Speaking of bears, you know that you would clean house in the gay community, bro.
God.
Like,
Yo,
I
I had
I'm
messages
sure he
like,
gets on-
who's this guy? Who's this guy? I was like, he's taken and he's straight.
I legit for a very long time shaved because of that. I would trim. I swear, and listen, man. There's bears out there because bears are not feminine at all.
Nah.
There's bears out there.
I mean, there are feminine
Of course,
bears,
there's feminine bears, but there's some bears. Not, in other words, not all bears are feminine.
No.
You know what
No,
I'm
I mean,
saying?
the whole culture was about being masculine.
Yeah.
That was the
There's
gist
bears
of it.
out there they'll ping you up.
Yeah,
and bro, you won't be able to
Grab you by the
move
throat, boy.
under a bear. I'm telling you, man.
So what do you got going on? What's next for you? How do people find you?
My Instagram is El Caballo _305. My YouTube, I started a podcast every Monday and Thursday at 9 p.m. It streams live on YouTube. My YouTube channel is El Caballo 305. I have a comedy show coming up at Casa Tiki, February 18th. Comedy show, it'll be from 7:30 to about 10. It's a great time. And I have a dodgeball tournament actually right next door at Stunafit, the gym
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a dodgeball tournament with $1,000 cash prize. A bunch of vendors
When is
come
that?
out. That's the day before Valentine's, February 13th. Come out there para meterle un pelotazo a tu jeva.
That was like the triple entendre there, bro.
Caballo, thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah,
thank you,
absolutely.
Caballo,
Appreciate
for taking
it, man.
time, for being here, for spending this time with us,
I had a great time.
for your support. For all of you out there, join us. Go to 4, and then WARD, 4word, Miami. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, and we hope to see you again next week. Thank you.